Let's see who's in here. Come on in here, y'all. Come on in here. What's up, B Polly? What's up, y'all? Chief Water. That nigga, that nigga Chief Water. That nigga Chief Motor got a mole next to his lip. All the kids be thinking he got a water bug on his face. Mm-hmm. Yeah, nah, Dr. Sinister, we ain't on air. We on the ground, Dr. Sinister. We not on air. This is your imagination talking right now. What's up, Blaine? Yeah, Scotty Jenkins, Cleveland. How's the weather in Cleveland? How's the weather? How is Cleveland in the summertime? Like, is it muggy? Is it like how's the weather like in the Great Lakes area during the summertime? It seems like every time I go up that way, it's wintertime. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Hey, I had Dr. Clyde Winters reference some of my work earlier on another show. That shit made me feel good. Y'all know how dope it is to dedicate your heart and soul to something, and then for a certified professor who you've been reading their books for about a decade now quotes you. Nigga, that shit feels so goddamn good. I care more about Dr. Clyde Winters mentioning my work than I would if an NBA player shouted me out. Or if you know, or if an actor shouted me out. I know a fuck ton of actors. That don't impress me. But a college professor who played a major role in waking me up out of my sleep and helped me discover who I am as a black man in America, for that mother. And y'all know my shirt that I have with my scholars T-shirt that I have with Dr. Francis Cress Wells and Neely Fuller. It's funny too because when I made it, I know I only used 5 names, and I had Dr. Winter's name on that shirt because I wanted to use 6 names, but the spacing for the shirt wouldn't allow me to do 6 names. He was originally on that shirt, but and the only reason why I put him on there is because I know a lot of you guys don't know who he is. I know who he is, but a lot of like those names that I put on there, I guess, are more famous in the black circles. But I'm gonna do another version of that shirt with Dr. Winters, Dr. Amos Wilson. Well, I'm gonna do like Winters, Wilson, Wells. I don't know. Yeah, it's probably gonna be all. I'm gonna do something like that for another like a scholar shirt. That shit felt good. I appreciate that, Chief Water. Hey man, I'm listening because he was talking about the point that I always make when it comes to our music. You listen to that orchestration in the music of the '70s, man. That was the orchestration out of the '70s. That was Mozart level. That was Beethoven level. That was Johann Sebastian Bach level. And we so busy into the groove, into the beat of the music, we don't know that we're getting a whole symphonic arrangement playing underneath our music. And that was common in the '70s. Right now I'm listening to some Bobby Humphrey, another person y'all need to turn on to. I don't know if y'all into Bobby Humphrey. What's up, Larry? No, I probably won't do a show. Like, I don't like those compilation shows. Like, I like Dr. Winters. I like Dr. And I know Dr. Winters and Dr. Short probably will get along well. But I'm more so, when I have people like Dr. Winters on, I want to hear him cook without being interrupted. When I have Dr. Randy Short on, I want to hear him cook without being interrupted, you know? Like, when I watch YouTube and I see it's too many scholars on one show, it can work. It does work. It does work. But it also cannot work sometimes. And me personally, I'm not into. I really want whenever they're talking about a particular theme, I want them to be able to cook all the way uninterrupted. You know. But I'm not saying I won't do it. I'll see how I can see how certain people feel, but I preference having, and when I have somebody like a Dr. Clyde Winters on, man, I want to hear everything he has to say. Everything. And when I have Dr. Randy Short on, I want to hear everything he has to say. It almost feels like I'm being cheated if I haven't switched sharing time, you know? Also, Robert go, Remy Shan. I love Remy Shan. Hey, man, Remy Shan is somebody I've been trying to interview for a while now. Remy Shan, we follow each other on IG. And Remy Shan likes what I do. I like Remy Shan. Remy Shan was one of those authentic white boys who really had the magic. That album he had in 2001, Take a Message, nigga, that's one of the greatest albums. That's one of the best R&B albums of this century so far. Take a Message by Remy Shan. Top to bottom. It's the way I feel. I love that shit. Remy Shan. But, he be saying that militant nigga shit I be talking. And if you look on my IG, if you ever see Remy, if he's around, he'll like half the messages too when I be talking my shit. Not all white. Some white people know what the game is, and they don't really like it either. They may not necessarily say nothing, but they'll definitely support those of us who do. But Remy Shan, he'll go on and off of IG. Like, I won't see him for like 3 or 4 months, and then out of nowhere, he's back to liking my posts. I'll be like, oh shit, Remy Shan back. Yeah, man. Yeah, like and subscribe. And book a reading session too. For all you niggas that's struggling with some shit. You dig? But anyway, I kind of tonight wanted to talk about the news. And I'm not going to be on here long. Maybe another 30, 45 minutes. I ain't going to be on here all night tonight. I got shit to do when I get off here. But the news. I kind of scan the papers every day and checking Twitter, and because Twitter now, for the most part, where news breaks. Why didn't I know until this morning President Mikhail Gorbachev died? Gorbachev is one of the most important men of the 20th century. Tonight, I'm more so going to talk about, world news, because, and y'all know, people who follow me regularly, y'all know, I always like to still dive into what's going on in the world around us. Because we, as black people, we have to understand the world around us and the world we live in. Too many times I get a black person telling me something like, oh man, that's white people business. I don't care about white people business. I only care about what goes on with black people. And that's cool, but that's not cool for me. And I don't want to hear it. So if you one of the brothers that only care about If you're one of the brothers that only cares about what black people do and you don't care about white people, fine. I'm not going to tell you to change. I'm just going to tell you I don't want to hear it. I don't give a fuck. My point of view on things is I always look at the world that I live in. And it's always good to juxtapose the world you live in, the world around you, to the world you live in. So, niggas, I'm puffing on that Stacey Dash. Fuck you. But what's going on? Gorbachev died on Tuesday. And that should have been some of the biggest news in America. Gorbachev was one of the best friends. I won't even say, maybe even reluctantly. I'm not saying he was intentional friends with the United States. But Gorbachev was one of the most important men in history. For those of you who don't know, Mikhail Gorbachev was the final president of the USSR, leader. I say president, but they're leader of the Soviet Union. Before the Soviet Union disbanded, it broke off into a bunch of countries, Russia and Ukraine being the biggest two. But Russia, Georgia, Crimea, that was all part of the Soviet Union. And those of you who grew up in the 80s like me and grew up in the 70s, see, some of y'all weren't born into the 90s, so you guys wouldn't know, and I wouldn't expect you guys to know. But growing up in the 80s and before, the United States was in a Cold War with Russia. And what that meant was United States citizens were on constant alert for a bomb or nuclear war with Russia. To the point where a lot of schools during the 60s, 70s, and 80s had bomb shelter drills. Had drills on what to do in case of a nuclear bomb getting dropped. That's what living in the United States was like since the Bay of Pigs. Through the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But even back to the 50s. Even back to the 50s. The McCarthy era. And so this was a threat, whether you were white, black, Latino, Asian, whatever ethnic group you were. Those missiles from Russia didn't have a zip code. So they told us. So Mikhail Gorbachev, I used to always see him in that goddamn ugly ass tattoo, that ugly ass birthmark on his forehead. And I would look at my dad when my dad would be watching ABC World News Tonight and Gorbachev be on. I'd be like, Daddy, why don't they wipe his head? I remember asking my dad that when I was like 4 or 5. I've always been into news and what's going on in the world around me. But I remember being like 5 years old, like back in like 1986, and seeing Gorbachev's like face on the screen, like, Daddy, why is that thing on his face? Is that a tattoo? And my dad do just like this, he'd puff a joint. And they'd be like, nah, be quiet so I can listen to what's going on. Shit. And that's how me and my dad would do. I watch the world news with my dad. But why am I bringing up Gorbachev? Gorbachev was the person most responsible for ending the Cold War. in United States history, they give credit to Reagan, but really, the majority of the credit belongs to Gorbachev. From 1979 through 1989, the United States and Russia were involved in a proxy war through Afghanistan. Sounds familiar? Does that not sound familiar? That's when the United States armed Osama bin Laden and all his homies so that they could fight Russia. The United States, the reason why the United States was funding Osama bin Laden was so he could fight Russia. The reason why the United States was funding Saddam Hussein down in Iraq was because he was against Russia. Let's keep as many missiles pointed towards Russia as possible through the Middle East. That war broke the Soviet Union. And that's why I'm telling y'all, the United States, right now, when I look at it just psychically, see the lay of the land around me, the United States right now is where the Soviet Union was in the early 80s. In the early 80s, and all throughout the 80s, really, it used to be like TV shows talking about the commies and talking about how dangerous Russia is and Russia this, Russia that. It wasn't just Russia, it was Soviet Union. They always call them commies or Soviets. The Soviet Union this, the Soviet Union that. And how powerful the Soviet Union was. The Soviet Union is the most powerful entity in the world. Whatever. Little did the common citizen know, the Soviet Union was broke. The Soviet Union was broke, and that war, that proxy war that they had with the United States through Afghanistan, it broke Russia, broke their financial system. But it was Gorbachev that, when it came to relationships with the United States, he called for both the United States and Russia and the Soviet Union to decommission all nuclear warheads back in like 1986. He was always making the moves to end the Cold War. It was generally the Reagan that was keeping it going. Well, the people behind Reagan, because Reagan wasn't running shit. Reagan was a fucking corpse, especially by his second term. By Reagan's second term, he was deader than Joe Biden is right now. But Gorbachev was really the one behind that. And through Gorbachev's patience, it saved the world possibly from nuclear war. I don't care what color you are. The fact that those warheads were not launched was due to Gorbachev. Because those warheads would have fucked us all up. And I'm not saying this to praise Gorbachev or say Gorbachev is some good guy. He had white supremacists like the rest of them. I'm just saying Gorbachev made a move or refused to make a move that could have really changed the planet. And he paid a political price for that. He basically died in shame. He left office in shame because he was the president that was on the clock when the Soviet Union was disbanded. And Gorbachev was seen as a punk in Russia, in the Soviet Union, and subsequently Russia, Crimea, and Georgia, and those countries over there in Eurasia. And it was Gorbachev's passiveness that created the environment for Putin to come in with his strong arm tactics and run Russia the way he's run for the last 20 years. But it was Gorbachev, you know what I mean, that possibly saved the world from nuclear war in the 80s. And the Russians saw him as weak. And why am I bringing this part up? Vladimir Putin's not going to attend his funeral. He remembered him already, but he's not going to attend the funeral. You see these white supremacists, when somebody makes a move that harmed the overall good of their community, they don't play games and fake like they like them. Putin ain't going to his funeral because Putin blames Gorbachev for ending the Soviet Union. And so when you see Putin's moves in Crimea back in 2014 and Ukraine now, that's all in an attempt to recapture what he feels Gorbachev lost. So right now, what we're living with all these Ukrainians coming to the United States right now is fallout from the disbanding of the Soviet Union. That's the downside. The good side is there was no fucking civil war. There was no war. Oh shit, one of my favorite songs ever is on right now. Oscar Peterson. Listen. Listen to his piano chops. I can't play too much. They're gonna take it. I don't want YouTube taking my video down. But man, I love that song. Y'all don't know how much man. Wave by Oscar Peterson. Those strings, the way they swell and rock, the way the strings move on that song, it makes you feel like you're in the ocean. Especially when they come in. Man, I love this song right here. It makes you feel like you are on the water. And Oscar Peterson, when Oscar Peterson played that piano, boy, it sounded like 6 hands is on that motherfucker. Go back and listen to some of that Oscar Peterson. You're going to be listening to that like, is it 12 niggas playing this piano right now? Nah, that's just Oscar Peterson. Rest in peace to the god, Oscar Peterson. Canadian black, by way of the Caribbean, who was classically trained in Canada and came down to New York and amalgamated with foundational black American culture and brought his classically trained style to jazz, and gave us some special music. Nah, he don't sound like Monk. Monk, yeah, that's right, Vincent. Monk was more about space and improvisation. You're right. Oscar Peterson was more technical. Oscar Peterson was way more technical than Monk. Monk would play one note, and then Monk would get up from the piano and dance. And he had his own like Thelonious Monk dance. And then he would go back to the piano, then play some and then let the song breathe. Oscar Peterson, he gonna attack you with that sound. Oscar Peterson gonna whoop your ass with them piano keys. He gonna go up and down that scale on your ass, sounding like 6 hands. Yeah, that's right, Denise. Denise Williams. Monk sounds like Monk. You can't have no. It ain't no. It ain't no. It ain't no replacement for Thelonious Monk. Thelonious Monk is just one Thelonious Monk. That's all I can say about that. It's just one Thelonious Monk. What's up, DC Static? Yeah, Oscar was very technical. And you know, it's that texture. That's what I like about Oscar. Oscar, you know, because Oscar's like a change of pace. When it comes to the FBA jazz sound, the FBA jazz sound is much more raw. It's much more feeling and guts, and it's a thing. It's a mood. It's a groove. Oscar has that groove too, but Oscar's very technical. So when you put Oscar with black musicians, when you put Oscar with Dizzy Gillespie on that song Caravan, it's like he brings a certain strictness to the song, to the music. And it's a different, it's just another wrinkle in jazz. You know? I'm going to see Herbie Hancock at the end of the month at the Hollywood Bowl. I got my box seats, nigga. I got my boxes. Yeah, man, but man, I love my Hollywood Bowl. I saw George Benson and Lettucey this past Sunday. This past Wednesday at the Hollywood Bowl, Babyface came out, Warren G, Johnny Gill came out, I'm not Lettucey, Layla Hathaway came out. Oh, but when what's her name sang Jennifer Holliday this past Wednesday at the ball, oh my God, for Black Music Night, she set that motherfucker off. I've been meaning to talk to you niggas about this. I've been meaning to talk to share with my YouTube family this story. Man, not necessarily story, but man, at the Hollywood Bowl this past Wednesday, we had Black Movie Night. And I'm going to do a story on it on Incense and Ashtrays whenever I can find a fucking time to do it. But Black Movie Night is when they play a movie, clips of a movie, and the band is playing along with the movie with a full orchestra. This was the 4th edition from the Hollywood Bowl. Previous Black Movie Nights had people like Charlie Wilson come out, had people like Gladys Knight come out, Patti LaBelle, go down. If they're alive and they're black, they probably participated at one of the Black Movie Nights. Jill Scott did one. Well, this year, they had a lot of legends. Shit. I'm at the end of this joint. I'm over here smoking filter right now. But nigga. Jennifer Holliday came out and they played to the movie Sparkle. It's like the way it happened, you could tell they didn't really know what Jennifer Holliday was about to do. Reginald Hudlin probably knew because, you know, that was his night. Marcus Miller on bass produced the music. Craig Robinson hosted it. Paul Jackson Jr. was on lead guitar. That's Paul Jackson Jr. playing on a lot of your favorite Michael Jackson hits, a lot of your favorite Quincy Jones hits post late 70s. That was Paul Jackson Jr. playing the guitar. When you listen to what's the song Thriller? That guitar lick that's playing underneath the song, that's Paul Jackson Jr. Well, anyway, man, Jennifer Holliday came out, and she was the only person of the whole night that didn't have a clip of the movie playing while they were on stage. Like, I'm like, okay, y'all probably only doing this because y'all the Hollywood Bowl and y'all don't really know who Jennifer Holliday is. Y'all think maybe just because she had a few hits and she kind of fell off, it's because of her. Like, no. She only fell off because the industry stopped supporting good singing. I'm looking at the moon right now. But Jennifer Holliday came out and did that I Am Telling You song, and the woman sounds like she did on the record. 44 years ago, nigga. She came out. There's no way I will. You know how she do that shit. She did all that. Nigga. The Hollywood Bowl went crazy. Mind you, I've seen everybody at the Hollywood Bowl. I've seen B.B. King there. Rest in peace. I've seen Santana, Earth, and Fire. I done seen Herbie Hancock. I done seen Buddy Guy. If the legend has lived in the last 20 years, I've seen them at the Hollywood Bowl. I almost saw James Brown there. I almost. And I didn't buy them fucking tickets. One of my things that I regret. He died 3 months later. I was going to go see James Brown, and I drug my feet, and by the time I went to go buy tickets, they were sold out. I missed it. He died 3 months fucking later. So if your favorite celebrity is ever in, if it's any old artist ever on tour in your city, go buy them tickets, man. You will not regret it. I've seen so many gods at the Hollywood Bowl. I said that to say Jennifer Holliday did some shit with her voice. Nigga. Everybody forgot about everybody else that came out. They had Macy Gray go on after Jennifer Holliday. Jennifer Holliday had 3 applause breaks after she got out. They couldn't even, they had to pause the show for like almost 5 minutes because of her voice. They really had to pause the show for almost, it was about a 5-minute long applause break. I've never seen nobody get that at the Hollywood Bowl. I've seen Nas there, I've seen Lauryn Hill there. I mean, you name them. Gladys Knight a few times. I done seen Smokey Robinson there. I done seen, I can't even, if they play R&B or soul or jazz and they've been alive in the last 20 years, I've seen them at the Hollywood Bowl. I've been to that venue well over 150, coming up on 200 times. Well, more than 200. I've been there well more than 200 times. I go about 8 to 10 times a summer, and I've been going for like 22 summers, so yeah. Nigga, why am I saying all this? What have I always said on Incense and Ashtrays when it comes to our music, when it comes to R&B? R&B, when done right, needs live orchestration. These great singers, what have I always said about Luther Vandross? Go back and listen to his first album and go back and listen to his last album. Same great voice. But the feeling, the quality ain't there. Hell, go back to Luther's first 3 albums and go back to music from the 90s. When you put these little trick-ass program beats behind a good singer, it takes away. You take the soul away from the music when you do that. Real singers need strings. And that's something that Dr. Clyde Winters pointed out that I said on my show. You need strings. You need orchestration. And when you get the combination of a well-written song, well-produced music, complete with strings, horns, a band, nothing moves you more than that. Like rap, I'm telling you right now, rap hip-hop is cool, but there's no way in hell rap and hip-hop would be the dominant music if real R&B was produced and put together. Rap would always be second fiddle to R&B done right. Always. Go back to my show that I did on how R&B was defunded for rap. Rap never took out R&B, even when R&B was in a broken state. R&B was in a broken state in the 90s and the 2000s. It wasn't at its best. But R&B didn't rap didn't take over R&B until the early 2000s when R&B was for the most part completely defunded. Mariah Carey in the 90s was still outselling your favorite rapper. That's the proof that R&B was still winning on top of rap. When Michael Jackson would decide to come out with a project, that project would do better than anything in rap. But the way Jennifer Holliday moved that audience emotionally through singing and live orchestration speaks directly to our soul. And you can't beat it. Nothing can outdo a great singer with a live orchestra behind them and horns and a live band. Nothing. Nothing, nothing, nothing. They had to take out soul music. They had to take out soul music. And that's what that performance by Jennifer Holliday reminded me of. The way I saw her move that Hollywood Bowl with that voice, when there was a full 72-piece orchestra behind her. So when she's playing her parts, you got 72 souls, strings, timpanis, oboes, violins, double bass, cornets, trumpets, woodwinds, brass. That fusion, man, can't nothing fuck with it. To this day. They had to defund our shit and give you niggas Rihanna. Like what Dr. Clyde Winter said, today's singer don't grow up in the church. Today's one of the ones that hit the radio at least. Them folks can't do our music like us. Like, R&B is still the sound of the world. Don't let them fool you on this hip hop stuff. And I love hip hop. Hip hop is black culture. But a more dominant culture than hip hop is R&B. R&B has ruled the world since the 1950s. Really since Motown, since the early 60s. R&B really took over as far as the number one in the 60s. Who's the biggest selling artist out right now? K-pop, BTS, that's R&B. Like I said before, it's R&B fried, it's stir-fried R&B fried up in a wok. But it's still R&B. And look at Adele. Adele outsells any rapper. And all these motherfuckers suck. Adele sucks. Rihanna sucks. BTS triple gobby goobly doubly sucks. These motherfuckers ain't even good at R&B. And they still outsell any rapper. R&B is still the culture. Let's not forget that. It's just been taken from us. Oh, what's up, Butter Love? You was there that night. I just saw you got in the chat room. Hey, Butter Love, tell them about Jennifer Holliday at the bowl. Tell them about how tell them about how, because it is R&B, because it's not blues or gospel, it's R&B. Do you know what the B stands for in R&B? It stands for blues. The R is a rhythm. Jazz rhythms with blues song structures. That's R&B. But yeah, Butter Love, you know what she did? Larry, you the culture of curry, you camel fried ass nigga. Nigga B party said ramen and backflips. Y'all stupid. No, that's a good question, Deep Impressions. That's a good question. How it happened? You want to know how they got it? Let me tell you something what they did. And I'm sure Korea had the same plan going on, but especially Japan. Japan during the 80s, China, Japan, Korea, they would pay black acts from the 60s and 70s and the 50s to come over and teach music. And they pay a lot of money. They pay a whole lot of money. I remember talking to my father-in-law. Lionel Richie had hooked him up with something in Japan. And I don't know the exact dollar amount that they were willing to pay. I don't know that. But back in the 90s, they was willing to pay him a good sum amount of money to teach music in Japan. Music orchestration and how he put together his songs. And they were willing to pay top dollar. Well, if I can guesstimate, my guesstimate is well into the six figures for just a few months out of the year. That's my guesstimate. Well into the six figures for just a few months out of the year to teach black American. That's a whole thing. Like, y'all don't even know. Old artists, when artists have one hit here in America, they can tour Japan and Asia and Europe the rest of their fucking life. And the music producers, the ones who put the music together, they can go to Asia and make damn near more money they make teaching, damn near more money than they made doing music here. That's a whole thing. That's how they know our music. They spent the last 30 years paying top dollar to black American music producers and artists to teach in their universities and in their music schools. Did Mr. Carmichael go to Japan to teach? Hell nah. Larry, you know the genius. The genius was not about to leave this soul food here in America. Hey Larry, what do you think the genius said when they told him, when they gave him that offer? How fast do you think he said "fuck you"? He didn't give a fuck about the money. He like, nigga, I'm not about to leave Woody's barbecue around the corner to teach you motherfuckers shit. I recorded some conversations, Quan. I I wanted to go over there today to holler at him, but I was doing Craig Facts. I wanted to go holler at him today, but of course we were doing Craig Facts, and I might go see him sometime this weekend. Hey, Larry, he asked about you too the last time I was over there. He doing good, bruh. See, now, Quan, the hard thing is, here's the thing. Mr. Carmichael is the real deal. Like, music to him, he's made some of the most beautifully orchestrated music in history. And he's worked with everybody that we all idolize and love. But when he was done with music, he was done. He don't really like talking about that shit. We be talking about the Lakers. We be talking about football. He be asking me the next time, when's the next time I'm gonna barbecue some ribs? That's the kind of shit we be talking about. You ask him about a song, you ask him about Michael Jackson, he gonna be like, he may say a little bit about Michael and then turn around and be like, man, so you think LeBron gonna take the Lakers to the championship? He don't give a fuck about music. Yeah. Yeah. No. I'm with you, Bismarck T. I'm with you on that. And that's another thing about if I ever like got a formal interview with Mr. Carmichael, and like in certain court, he would never answer me on like how you on his secrets, because he has certain secrets. He knew how to keep a song moving and exciting, and he really knew how to slowly crescendo a song and build it and put a song together. And I guarantee you, he is not about to give up them secrets. Them secrets is going to the grave. But he will get some stuff. He will tell some stuff. But it's only one. I always say, if you really want to hear, David Foster used to work under Mr. Carmichael, the person that made that song, the Bodyguard soundtrack with Whitney Houston. David Foster learned a lot of his tricks from Mr. Carmichael. And also Maurice White. But I'm saying that to say, if you really want to hear Mr. Carmichael's some of his best orchestration on how to put a song together, listen to Missing You by Diana Ross. That's one of my favorite compositions of his. That song was dedicated to Marvin Gaye. But listen to how it starts. And then how he have Diana Ross coming in. Ooh, I'm missing you. Then he has in the background, you hear the background singers sort of whispering. They're not really singing out loud. They're not really singing out loud. They're not quite whispering, but they're sort of singing just above a hum. Ooh, like that is beauty when it comes to music. And it stays real calm. And then when it gets to the part to where Diana goes in and singing, sometimes I wonder, I didn't. She goes into a part to where she's sort of questioning what happened between their relationship. And you hear the drummer go from regular time to double time. He's playing eighth notes on a hi-hat, but when it comes to that part of the song, he doubles it up to 16th notes on a hi-hat. And as a drummer, when we play 16th notes on a hi-hat, that gives an anticipation to the sound. I'm giving y'all some trace. I'm giving y'all a little bit of secrets on how music is put together. But As a drummer, one thing that we do to change the feeling of a song is we'll go from eighth notes to a 16th notes on a hi-hat. And what that does, it gives the song an anticipatory feel. That's why disco is famous for an EDM, now EDM, but disco slash EDM, they play 16 notes on a hi-hat. That gets you kind of moving. And the song goes into that, and then you hear them strings come in and they layer, and the strings sound like they worry. They kind of give out a tone of worry, of like the same emotion you'd have if you're trying to figure out what happened, if you're confused. And then when it gets to the part to where she says, "Now you're going away," when it goes to that part, it goes to a major crescendo. It's kind of crescendoing slowly, then it goes right up, and you hear them horns come in, and the horns bring the winds of excitement and fear, and all of these messages are being communicated at every level of music, from the background singers to the string arrangement to the horns to the bass to the drums to the keys. And that's R&B at its purest, right there. The reason what they did when they dumbed R&B down, they took that orchestration away and they replaced it with boom 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 boom. Sounds good to dance to. But you can't put that in the same class. And again, that isn't about Usher. I ain't talking about Usher himself. I'm talking about the decline in music production, or how music production from 1985 to 2000, that's a 15-year period. It went from this grandiose orchestral arrangement to dun 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 dun. I never knew I had a love like this before. I wish that song had because that was a good song. That was great writing. I wish that song had a Carmichael music arrangement or a Leon Ware music arrangement. You know? What if Faith Evans had Gene Page level or Paul Reiser level or even Robert Foster level arrangements? How far could Faith Evans' career have gone had they not made that woman sing over R&B tracks? I was looking at Layla Hathaway when I was at the bowl. I seen Layla Hathaway twice in the last week. Layla Hathaway sang chords, y'all. It was once, I remember listening to a music teacher tell me it's like impossible to sing chords. Layla Hathaway can sing a chord. Like, what? But real R&B is expensive. To pay an arranger, to pay a symphony, to pay for that level of production is very expensive. So they only give that level of production to Adele. When these artists get their budgets for their album, do you want these grandiose symphonic arrangements? And not you can have that, but you won't have enough money in your budget to advertise it. So people like Layla Hathaway, back in her what should have been her prime in the 90s and the 2000s, thank God, because she's such a beautiful soul, a beautiful genius. Thank God she's been able to make her way through and still be relevant today. Thank God people like Lettucey, they're still around and they're relevant, and they're always going to be relevant. But in the 2000s, they should have had mega careers with those voices. But that would have required that premium level orchestration. And at that time, the music industry just wasn't dumping that kind of money into R&B. Why dump the money into R&B when I could pay somebody over here to do a beat and all I gotta do is clear a sample or two? All right, cool. I'm gonna say this money so I can have that money that used to go to orchestration and production now goes to features. You gotta drop 100 racks for that Rick Ross feature. You gotta drop 60 racks for that Game feature. You gotta drop another 150 racks for that Kendrick Lamar feature. They load these artists up with features, and that's where the budget goes now, not in the orchestration. How can music advertise itself in the world of music, or when in the world music gets played every day? I want you to answer that, Project Leroy. How can we find out what the music is if the artists don't have a budget to pay the DJs at the radio station or to pay Spotify to push their song? Everything is pay to play. Radio DJs don't just say, hey, this is a good song, I want to play it. DJs, that money gets paid to them, the top brass, Sinclair Media Group and Radio One Media Group, and those record companies pay them very well to feature particular artists. And nowadays, when it comes to Spotify, when you're just playing your Spotify daily mix, it's the reason why certain artists and certain songs keep ending up in your mix, even though that song doesn't even fit in your mix. When it comes to artists getting seen, that's all payola. That's all payola. All the music they get, that's all payola. Payola, payola, payola. Even YouTube music now, payola. Everybody getting paid to do something. You cannot like it. How you feel about it is irrelevant. But unless you got the money to fund a bot farm in China to give you 10 million streams, and that's now. Gotta realize we also in 2022 live in a totally different world now than in 2005. 2005, there was no way to get directly to the people. You still had to go through Clear Channel. You still had to go through Sony BMG. You still had to go through them folks to get your CDs pressed and placed in music stores. Nowadays, you can get heard, but you'll never go. The people that go number one, y'all ever ask yourself, how do these Cardi B's and all these people go number one? How do Nicki Minaj keep going number one, but don't no men listen to her? Have you ever met a nigga that bumped Nicki Minaj? How was literally only half of the gene pool listening to somebody, and not even all of them, but they keep going number one? You ever ask yourself that? Name one man you know that can tell you a name of a Nicki Minaj album. Niggas knew who Rage was. Niggas bump Rage. Niggas bump certain songs from the Brat. Niggas bump MC Light. Name a nigga bumping Nicki Minaj. Even if she has every gay person behind her, it ain't enough gay people for her to go number one. I mean, to sell the number of units that she sells, supposedly, it ain't enough sissy shit going on in the world. You just gotta ask these questions. You just gotta ask these questions and think for a moment. Do you know anyone that knows one song on the B side of any Cardi B album? Personally, do you know anyone that talks about Cardi B's music and they can tell you music that's on her album that wasn't released and put on the radio 5 times an hour? Just a quick press number 1 if you cannot name any person or one person or less that can tell you anything about a Cardi B song that isn't radio played. Press number 1. Do you know anybody? Like, you may be able to mention a song that comes, especially if you have an office job where the radio gets played, you may know somebody that can name a song that Bodak Yellow, some shit that's get played on the radio 5 times an hour. But I mean, outside of that. But when Tupac was on the charts, everybody you knew could name at least 3 or 4 songs on the album. Even when Jay-Z would go number 1, you know people who actually listen to that shit. I'm not the biggest Jay-Z fan, but I'm not gonna say his shit is fake. Because when he comes out, no, niggas listen to that shit. I see it every goddamn day. I listen to it too. And I listen to it, then realize it's trash, and I don't listen to it again. But I give everything Jay-Z puts out a spin. And I like some of his shit from the 2000s. But I think the Black Album was the last one I really liked. So that tells you all of this shit is contrived. Do you know anyone that knows a Lil Nas X song outside of that Old Town Country Road? Does anyone here know, do you or anybody else you know, has anyone ever gone to a Lil Nas X concert? Or do you know anyone who's gone to one of his concerts? In your city where you live, when you're checking this concert schedule for you to go see a show, have you ever seen Lil Nas X at a basketball-sized arena selling out? I live over here not too far from the Forum. I see who performing at the Forum all the time. I ain't never seen no Lil Nas X tour. I done seen Drake 5 nights. I done seen Bruno Mars. Something 24 Karat Magic Air Show, whatever the fuck. I ain't ever seen Lil Nas X shit up on that thing. So how's he going number 1? That's pay to play right there. That's bot farms. And here's a test. A lot of y'all got kids. Do any of y'all kids listen to Cardi B or Lil Nas X? That's the real test. What are the kids listening to? Any of y'all kids listening to Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, Lil Nas X? He's possessed by the bussy spirit. So that's why you can't talk charts and numbers when it comes to music. That's irrelevant. We don't even know what the numbers are. We don't know what the numbers are well enough to even make that argument. Hey, Larry, you know like that song by Kool and the Gang, Spirit of the Boogie? That motherfucker Lil Nas X is Spirit of the Bussy. Come to get ya, Spirit of the Bussy. Let it ease all inside. Come and get the Spirit of the Bussy. Ride the rhythms, ride, get down, ride the rhythm. Nigga. Hey, and Larry, remember the days? And what's up with all these numbers, niggas? Look, let's break it all the way down, y'all. How can you call yourself hip hop if you focused on the numbers? I remember 90s hip hop. Getting mainstream consideration was considered whack. Remember Cube said, MTV, they'll have a new nigga next year. Real hip hop wasn't about no fucking numbers. Let's just remember, let's go back to 93, y'all. A lot of y'all were alive in 93. Y'all remember that? Or am I tripping? Devin White, yeah, you see, you was around. Beware crossover, EPMD, yep. G-Mars, yep. Early hip hop warned against crossover. They already knew because they saw what happened with they saw what happened with jazz. Like what did Ice Cube say? You're not gonna bury hip hop like you buried jazz. They saw what happened to R&B. Hip hop was like, hell nah. Y'all ain't about to do that shit to us. So, matter of fact, not only do we not want your approval, your approval is actually corny. What's up, BB Bolger? Always good seeing you. What's up, Renegade? Yep, Renegade. Pac was dissing Hammer. Too Short, I mean not Too Short. Cube. Everybody, like, Hammer was like kind of a joke. Because early hip hop inherently knew when these crackers get a hold of it, the moment these crackers get a hold of our music is the moment our music become wizag. Boys knew that. Hip hop knew. Hey, what up, Guru Cam? I ain't seen you in the chat room in a minute. Good to see you, brother. Yeah. But early hip hop, the same people that the Jamaicans are saying taught them culture. He right there ran third base off the mic. We can't have something. Nah, that's nothing we gotta stop saying. We gotta stop saying we can't have nothing. Yes, we can. The minute we choose to decide to keep it is the moment we have it. We give it away. They don't take it. These groups ain't that dope. These motherfuckers really ain't that powerful. Like we be giving the other people too much credit. We give it away. We be the ones saying black and brown. You don't hear Mexicans say black and brown unless it's time to talk about hip hop. We say that shit, not them. You know? We do that. We stop doing that, we'll have our culture. And that's what we're doing now. The good side is like, look, you see right now what's going on. You see all these Jamaicans and Latinos trying to claim hip hop culture. And what's going on? We stepping up. And we saying something about it. And they ain't gonna be able to take it. As long as we keep talking, they ain't taking shit. They'll only take it whenever black people back down, that'll be when they take it. If we ever back down. That's the only way they'll take it. That's literally the only way for Latinos and Jamaicans to get hip hop is if we stop, is if we let them have it. But look at the bright side. Look at the bright side. Look at the bright side. I look at it like this also. We getting back our shit now too. Hold on. We getting our shit. We reclaiming our shit. Jazz is black again. I don't know if y'all been paying attention or not. Over the last 15 years, Roy Hargrove, rest in peace, Robert Glasper. This album was one of the main ones that helped it become black again. Robert Glasper. This was in the mid-2000s. Mood by Robert Glasper. Look, Kamasi Washington, Ryan Porter. Jazz is black again. Terrace Martin. The face of jazz is black again. And it's been black for well over a decade now. Here's the issue. Here's the issue. When I go see these jazz acts, I see far more others than I see us. Kamasi keeps Kamasi and Terrace Martin keep a fairly consistent black crowd. But the crowds when I go see Kamasi and Terrace Martin are like 50% black, 50% others. But when I go see like other acts, like Christian Scott and a lot of these other guys, man, too many times I go to a jazz concert, the audience is 10, 15% black. It'd be more Asians listening at these jazz concerts sometimes than black people. And it's not just LA. I've seen this phenomenon when I've gone to jazz concerts in other cities too. We don't support these guys the way we should. We really don't. Adrian Young and Ali Shaheed Muhammad, they have a dope series called Jazz is Dead. Press the number 1 if you ever heard about the series Jazz is Dead. It's a series of albums. I know people who listen to my Incense and Ashtrays have, but press the number 1 if you have heard about Jazz is Dead. Yeah. Oh yeah, salute to Jayla Baxter. Yeah, I know Jayla. Get your candles. Them good smelling ass candles. Weed Smoke 22, discount code, 40% off your candles. LightTheMood.com. See, G Mars, yeah, that's it. So, we have jazz titans. Kamasi Washington is doing some shit in jazz that ain't never been done before. His first two albums, especially that album, The Epic had a full choir. It had an orchestra. It had DJ Battle Cat on the ones and twos, and his father, Ricky Washington, and an ensemble of horns. That album, The Epic, it's a 3-disc, 3-album, 187-minute long feature album. That shit changed jazz. That album brought some new shit to jazz. I'm looking up because I hear this goddamn plane, but I don't see shit. Is that an alien craft, nigga? Somebody must be flying like 70,000 feet in the sky. Shit. But it's like, man, we don't support it enough. We don't support it enough. I'm at jazz concerts almost every Wednesday at the Hollywood Bowl. I know. I'm at Catalina Bar and Grill every other month. I'm at the jazz lounges. I'm there. I'm there when it comes to it. So I know what's going on. And not just LA. When I stop in different cities, I'm checking out their live music scene. And it ain't enough of us there. Nigga said Robert Glasper represents a bad relationship for you. Young black people don't like jazz because old black people don't like jazz. They don't have nobody to teach it to them. Jazz is something that you gotta take your time to get into. Your brain has to function a certain way. And it's the reason why they removed her from jazz. I had a teaching mentor of mine, Mr. Nero, Ezra Nero. He was my teacher at my camp when I used to be a kid. And then when I started when I started working with children as a young tutor, work and mentor the younger children, Nero was my man. He sort of showed me the ropes. Mr. Ezra Nero, I'm never gonna forget him. Well, anyway, there was a tactic that he did. Because they'd always talk about black kids not liking jazz, right? So what he'd do is, before class, he played John Coltrane. And before he teaches anything, he would have the kids relax and listen to Coltrane. And he would talk them through their day. While Coltrane is playing, just listen to the music and relax. You know? When we have a test later on today, just know that you studied. Know that you've done your best. He would sort of like put out affirmations while Coltrane was playing. And mind you, and we would get the kids by the fourth day, we'd have these kids sitting. And mind you, this is the population that we dealt with, y'all. This is how I know it works. The population we dealt with, this was out of King Drew Medical Center in Watts. Now, mind you, this is 90s Watts. This is 20, nigga. Watts still ain't gentrified, and it ain't close to being gentrified. It ain't no gentrification nowhere near Watts right now. But this was back in the Watts before as many, it was still mostly black now, but before almost any Mexicans was in Watts. This is when Watts was like all black. And the Mexicans was over in Linwood. These were the kids that had fetal alcohol syndrome. These were the kids that were in middle school getting kicked out the district. These were the kids that in elementary school were getting placed in special education because they couldn't function in regular classes. We dealt with the hoodest of kids. Straight up hood. The first day we play Coltrane, they wouldn't sit down. They be jumping all around, yeah, acting like little dumbass kids do, right? The second day, now only half of them are jumping around. The other half is kind of ready for it. But the other half is, fuck this shit, they jumping around. Can't really get them to calm down until about 5 or 6 minutes into the song. By that third day, they're ready. They're listening right away. But about 3 to 4 minutes into the music, they like maybe not even 2 minutes into the music, somebody's gonna break concentration and do something disruptive, which is gonna cause the other kids to get disruptive. But by that fourth day, we could get them to listen to the whole version of My Favorite Things. Or we would always pick out like a 15-minute, and we would have to play jazz for 15 minutes. And so what that did was, once they did that, and we were able to talk to them and really explain to them what jazz was, it would quiet their minds. So now when it was time to start class and start teaching them, these children, even the ones with fetal alcohol syndrome, were able to sit through 3 hours of instruction with only one break, and not interrupt anything. And these were kids that were failing in school. Some of these kids I'm still in contact with now. These niggas is in their 30s. And they talked to me about how when they did go to school, they learned how to start studying when they started studying. By the time they got into high school and into college, those kids, black kids from the ghetto, Watts, mama died when they was 7 years old. Daddy wasn't ever there. When they went ahead and went to college and went to school, they would come back and tell me how they would listen to jazz when they studied. Jazz just needs to be introduced properly to our babies. They're going to connect to it because it's their music. The program is going to have them on a 4/4 beat. Dun, dun, dun. When that song Laffy Taffy hit, I was like, and that shit hit hard too. I was like, oh yeah, they're about to make this music a little bit more dumb. Cause this beat catchy than a motherfucker. Dun, 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 dun. But I was like, okay, yeah, we're about to devolve even more. You know, people like Eric about doing Music Soul Child was getting my hopes up. You know, Common, rappers like him, the Roots, they were getting my hopes up for Nas, Hip Hop Is Dead. They're getting my hopes up that, you know, music popular music had a saving grace. But when they dropped that dun dun dun, and that shit hit hard in LA too. I remember I was in Atlanta when Laffy Taffy hit. I just remember walking through the club and I didn't know what the fuck was going on. because the song hadn't hit LA yet. And everybody was in one rhythm, doom, 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 and the floor started shaking. And Atlanta, y'all know, it's some beautiful women in Atlanta. But this particular club I was at, I was from out of town. I was in the wrong club. It was a herd of bison in this motherfucker. I wasn't at one of the better Atlanta clubs at this time. I was somewhere else. It was like an old, people from Atlanta, I don't know, it was like an old wood building. I just remember it being a wood building, and it had like 2 levels, but it had like wood floors, and it was like all wood. And I remember Laffy Taffy coming on and seeing this herd of oxen-shaped women doing the Laffy Taffy. I'm like, what the fuck? Song catchy as hell. But then that shit hit hard out here in LA too. And when I saw how hard that song hit, I'm like, music, yeah, it's done. This song is cool. I'm not gonna hate on this song, it's cool. But if they can make all this money on just doom, 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 why the fuck would they ever invest in proper orchestration? I know I wouldn't. If I can rock the crowd and just pay a beat maker 60 grand to put together a beat and have my shit played that much, nigga, I do the same shit too. So, yeah, Quan, y'all ain't a band of jazz in Louisiana. Cause I love Louisiana. I had such a good fun night at New Orleans night this past month and at the Hollywood Bowl. That was so much fun. Thank y'all, Louisiana, for keeping the shit alive. I was worried after Katrina. My first thought was, because I was in New Orleans for Essence Fest that year. Katrina happened, so I was out there like a month before Katrina. Man, that shit was fun. That was when Frankie Beverly and Maze headlined. Nigga, I remember I saw War in the Super Lounge. Saw Mid Condition. Man, that shit was dope. Charlie Wilson. Did Janet perform? No, Janet performed a different one. But my biggest worry was that New Orleans would lose that culture, and I'm so glad that it didn't. Black adults, we have to introduce our babies to jazz. That's their native music. If a fucking Filipino kid if Filipino children could appreciate jazz, what makes you think a black kid wouldn't be able to? Now, and it also comes down to how you introduce it. You can't introduce it to be like, your music ain't shit. Here, listen to this. That right there is just gonna make them just be all the way off your shit. They won't even begin to try to find the beauty in it. If you go around talking about something, your music ain't shit. But really, you gotta start at the womb. You gotta be playing jazz in them headphones while she pregnant in that baby's stomach. I'm gonna tell you some shit I learned at Cal State Northridge. I took this was in like one of my electives I took. We did a case study on children whose parents, it was like a marriage and family, it was like a family class I took from one of my electives in my major. But in that class, we had to do these studies on the effects of listening to music when a woman's pregnant and playing music when the baby is in the crib. Playing classical music and jazz. And it was like, we would have all kind of studies where it would be like how the children progressed over 3, 5, 7, and 9 and 10 years. And the children who grew up with classical music or jazz playing in the womb generally had higher IQ scores They generally had higher levels of emotional intelligence. They generally had just elevated levels of thinking. And the way I see it, you crackers told me to go to college, so I went and I learned something. I didn't go to college for a grade. I went to college to learn something. That was how I was different when I was in school. I went to learn something. I didn't go to college. I didn't go to school to pass the test. I went to school to learn something. That's what my mama taught me. And I always listened to my mama. My mama always taught me to learn something. And my dad always taught me to keep an open mind and just observe, just watch. My dad taught me how to watch. Just watch. So that's what I did. And I was like, see, these crackers know the secrets. You need to be playing jazz when your baby's in the womb. You need to be playing jazz in their crib. Don't play none of them goddamn... Don't play none of them goddamn Super Mario Brothers songs. These little baby toddler songs. Hell nah. You better play some motherfucking Dizzy Gillespie. Shit. You better play some Art Monk. The loneliest monk, I said Art Monk, that's a football player. I was going to say Art Tatum, and that's dyslexic. I want to say Art Tatum and the loneliest monk. But I said Art Monk, the Washington Redskin. God damn. Art Tatum, some Thelonious Monk. You want to play some Charles Mingus. You want to play some Duke Ellington. You want to play my OG, my favorite, Count Basie. That's what you want to play. Play that when these babies are 1 year old, when they 6 months old, when they 2 days old. Have that plan. Have that plan. A good one, G. Mars, Roy Ayers. Felt vibrations. That's what you want to play. Shit. Get these babies' minds right. You said they're doing a street takeover. Nah, that was just somebody. That was just a Mexican in an Asian's old used car. Like I hear in LA, the Asians be getting the cars new, be fitting them up and putting the mufflers on it, and then when they get used, they sell them to the Mexicans, and the Mexicans be putting these louder mufflers on it in cars with. Because Asian, he used to have turbos. He pulled his turbos out, so now that car is back to having 110 horsepower, and they put one of them fucking mufflers on it. Be driving 13 miles an hour, loud in the motherfucker down the street. Yeah. You know, that's how we say it in LA. Man, there's no offense. Mexicans. Guatemalans are Mexicans. El Salvadorians, Mexicans. Puerto Ricans, Mexicans. Cubans, Mexicans. Colombians, Mexicans. Hondurans, Mexicans. Peruvians, Mexicans. Dominicans, Mexicans. That's how we get down in LA. And there's no offense, but we ain't got time to be deciphering. All you niggas all y'all treat us the same. Whether they Peruvian Mexicans or El Salvadorian Mexicans, they don't fuck with niggas until it's time to listen to hip hop and say nigga. Now we down, but when you turn off Tupac, they back to being Mexicans. Tacos, Mexicans. Pupusa, Mexican food. Burritos, Mexican food. Plantains, Mexican food. I don't know what the fuck, which Mexican country this shit come from, but it come from a Mexican country. We as black people got to deal with the LAPD and the sheriff department, which are both full of what? Mexicans. I don't care if it's El Salvadorian Mexicans on the LAPD, Mexicans on the LAPD, American Mexicans on the LAPD, and the sheriff department. Every time I drive down the street these days and see a cop, it's a Mexican. It's either a light-skinned Mexican or a brown-skinned Mexican. So, that's just how we said in LA. And I got some cool-ass Mexican friends. Cool-ass Mexican friends. Matter of fact, I got to call up one of the Mexican homegirls and give her a reading pretty soon. I told her I'm going to read her on the house. Me and her go back way. One of my old jobs. We just stayed cool. Still cool. We got information. We pass each other that information. I got another Mexican homie comedian, Cisco. I love Cisco. Cisco got a show. He puts me on it. I got a show. I put Cisco on it. Whenever I do throw my show, I think I might put Cisco on it. I love Cisco. He see the shit I be writing on social media. So, no disrespect to the Mexicans. No disrespect to the Mexicans. But y'all don't own no motherfucking hip-hop. That's what me and Boo Capone was talking about today. We was on Craig Facts, but before the show. Them Fat Joe and them trying to claim the culture, man. Man, I've been on here over an hour and a half. I was not planning on being on here that long. Yeah, but ain't no mass coalition. Niggas gotta get off that we are the world shit. We ain't the world. We just niggas. Doing our best to make it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they be very passive aggressive. But going back to the top, rest in peace, Mikhail Gorbachev. Not to say he was a friend to us, because ain't none of these motherfuckers shit to us, but they decisions do affect us. So Gorbachev's decision to stand down during the Cold War and not press the issue with Ronald Reagan and because really the person that was running the thing was Vice President George Bush. That's who really was running the shit. Former head of the CIA. Think about that shit. George Bush 1, was head of the CIA around the time Russia started its proxy war with Afghanistan. They were in direct war with Afghanistan, but that was really a proxy war with the United States. It was Bush that was behind a lot of those funding Osama bin Laden tactics. You know? I have no doubts Bush would have been ready. If Gorbachev pushed the line, I have no doubts Bush would have been ready to say, smoke them niggas. I'm not even mad at Bush. I'm not even mad. I'm not here to say anything any things about him, because I'm just trying to teach an overall history lesson. It's not about the personality. These are just puppets and figureheads, but they do have some level of decisions that they do make. And Gorbachev deciding to stand down and not press the line save the world from Bush or Reagan or somebody else making the decision to whack somebody. Because truth is, if you're going to tell the real truth when it comes to history, I was watching the history documentary with Oliver Stone about 5 or 6 years ago, and I forgot the number, but it says like the United States has like literally thousands of nuclear warheads. Russia at its best, at its prime, had like less than 100. Like the United States would have been able to pound them motherfuckers into the ground if they ever even tried it. And the USA knows that. That's why I'm glad Gorbachev didn't press the line. Because I'm sure there are people at the USA would have been like, countdown in 5, 4, 3, 2, boom, 1. Sorry. That decision ultimately led to the destruction of the USSR, Soviet Union, which strengthened America's position. And growing up as a child in the 80s that used to go through bomb threats and earthquake drills, to after the Berlin Wall fell and the disbanding of the Soviet Union. I remember watching these events happen when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. I was very politically aware at those ages. My mom used to have me down there at city council meetings with Nate Holden here in LA and Maxine Waters. I've been hearing that name Maxine Waters in my house since 1986. So I've always just been aware of my world. And knowing Gorbachev, what he did or didn't do, it ultimately was a major boom in the imperial conquest the United States has placed upon the world. The United States were never really truly, they became the imperial power after World War II of the world, but they always had a formidable foe and legitimate gripe in Russia. So, yeah. All our history plays into our daily lives, whether you're black, white, whatever. What's up, Netta J? Yeah. Yeah, Larry, I'm gonna let you say about George H. Them motherfuckers. The Bushes, man, their impact on the last century, man, really the last half century, has been nothing good for the American people. Let's just put it like that. Yeah, so that's the American play, the world play. This whole world is a play. That's all it is. We just live in a matrix and everybody's playing their part. But it's a very interesting story to watch. And I have fun watching it. I don't take none of this shit serious. What else you niggas talking about? What's up, Green Light? Oh yeah, get that reading. Man, I hate when these white boys come on. They always want to throw these damn random ass white groups in my Spotify jazz mixes. I always hit next, and them motherfuckers keep putting them up on my goddamn mix. Yeah. But what else y'all talking about? What else y'all talking about up in here? Oh, yeah, the hip-hop documentary. Yeah, I'm excited. Tariq give me a call, do that hip-hop documentary? I am there. I am there. I'm going to brush up on some books. I'm reading this book called Segregated Sounds right now. I'll make sure I speed read that book before. I'm going to speed read that book and then regular read it too. And have that information locked into my brain too before I do my part filming. Larry, you can't fight, dog. I'll knock your face in, boy. I'll turn your nose into a divot in your face. Yeah, man. Let's see here, yeah. Yeah, I want to do that documentary. And my man Simon was supposed to be getting together, filming some shit, breaking down music. Hey, Quan, you be instigating. BJ Crosby Dreamland, I'll check it out. Leave it in the comment. Joseph, after the video, leave that in the comment, in the comments, so I know, so I have something to go back to. Because I know once I get off here, I'm about to do some other shit. Oh, Lord, we got somebody that... Yeah. Find you over here trying to instigate. You supposed to be a woman of God. You trying to witness a murder. I socked that nigga Larry one time in his forehead. That's it. Memory gone. He gonna be drinking through a straw. And you want me to go to jail for attempted murder? Quan, you ain't right. I'll smoke Harry Spears in the foot race. Now, last time I tried to race show, about 6 months ago, man, my Achilles tightened up. My Achilles was tight for like 4 months after I tried to race show back in February. My first time running in 5 fucking years. Yeah. My kid, I think if I took 2 more steps, I would have been like Drew on Atlanta Housewives. Achilles done. Said gangster but spiritual. If you notice, SB, EBB, I haven't answered your question on race. Because if you heard when I started talking about Gorbachev, I said it wasn't about this particular discussion, wasn't about racial dynamics. It was about a larger discussion over world policy at large. Because regardless of race, we all live in a world that if somebody decides to hit launch on a nuclear warhead, no matter what race you are, you will be affected. So I talked about Gorbachev from that perspective. Sometimes you gotta back up and see the bigger world that we're in. And let me just tell you also another thing. I don't really give a damn about nobody's feelings towards race. And this isn't directed to you and no disrespect to you, but I can't find less than a half of a fuck to give about a white person's viewpoints on race. Only thing I care about is what are you doing to tangibly apologize for what you did through reparation? What are you tangibly doing? Your sympathy, I can't cash a sympathy check. Like the bank don't accept, there's no routing number that a bank will accept for a sympathy check. The bank only accepts checks from other banks with tangible money in it. And the bank always accepts a Federal Reserve note. The banks especially love Federal Reserve checks. They don't even put those on hold. See, if you get an insurance check, they probably gonna hold your check for like 5 days. But if you get a Federal Reserve check, your shit on hold for the rest of the day. Then tomorrow morning, boom. If the white person in question hasn't done anything tangible to progress tangible reparations for black people, I don't give a damn if they're racist or not. Hell, he could have felt like black people were the greatest people on earth. That we are the lights of the world. He could have even been like, you know what? I like black people so much. You know, hey, I want to bring rappers over here and introduce hip hop to Russia. He didn't offer asylum to black Americans, and he didn't go to war on our behalf. So it really don't matter how he felt about race. You dig? Jimmy Walker. Jimmy Walker. Jimmy Walker is I've seen him around. He's I'm not gonna say anything bad about him. Of course, your ethnic group is first and foremost, but your ethnic group is in prison by this white supremacist with an itchy trigger finger towards other nations. So Gorbachev's passiveness didn't make this white supremacist who we're under subjugation of, it didn't make their trigger finger itchy enough to pull that thing out. And so I'm paying respect to that. The last thing this earth ever needs is nuclear war. But y'all notice the news ain't covering that. The news is covering more celebrity gossip and NBA free agency and the NFL preseason than death of a world leader whose decisions and indecisions ended the largest threat to the United States empire at that time and ended a 40-year-long Cold War. Yeah. But I got shit to do, y'all. I planned on leaving an hour ago. Remember, there are no perfect messengers, only perfect messages. Get my Black American music family tree, y'all. Schedule a session, especially if you're about to settle down with somebody. You want to make sure that she ain't gonna be on no bullshit. Or if you want to work it out, my book is coming out soon. I was editing some words to it yesterday. But I holler at y'all.